Hi guys, Buildzoid here, and today on another episode of strange memory configurations that nobody would actually want to run unless they were me, we've got 24 gigs of DDR4 on a dual channel platform, so X570 in this case. The motherboard in question is the MSI X570 Godlike. Thank you, MSI, for sending one of those boards to me. I don't really... Like, it's a cool board. It's just so, like, since I didn't have to pay for it, I really like it. But, you know, there's the whole $700 price tag thing with this board. But anyway, so, you know, it just kind of to, like, there's no specific reason for why I use this board for this experiment. It's just that I was using, like, I had to, well... I wanted to get some use in on all of my boards, because the thing is, I have too many motherboards, and it's just like, I feel bad for them if they just spend all of their time sitting in boxes, because that's obviously not what they're meant for. Anyway, as you can clearly see, we have memtest up and running. We have 11 instances, 2,000 megabytes each. So if we check our task manager, you can see that we're covering about, yeah, something like 95% of the memory installed in the system. So you also can see that, yes, we are indeed on 24 gigs of DDR4, which is a bit of a strange memory configuration for a dual channel platform. So how am I achieving this abomination of a memory configuration? Say hello to what I call EBDI, because it's a mishmash of EDI and BDI. And at this point, somebody's really confused, because they're like, but Micron EDI is an 8 gigabit IC. Well, see, you're wrong, because Micron EDI is not a thing. It's Micron Revision E, because that's how Micron actually names their freaking IC revisions. And EDI is a 4 gigabit Samsung IC. There. Also, if you just refer to things that, like, if you just use revision for all the Micron stuff, you don't have to tell people if you're referring to Micron EDI or Samsung EDI, because Samsung EDI is a 4 gigabit IC that is freaking awesome. Except, like, is awesome in all ways except, like, TRCD and TRP. I really like EDI because it's 4 gigabit, so it's cheaper than BDI. It also doesn't complain anywhere near as much. You can you can throw 2.1 volts at it, takes it like a champ. No, doesn't need max mem, doesn't complain. The only real issue with it does tight timings, at least like sub timings, and TCL goes really low. The only real issue with it is your TRCD is really, really high. And as a side effect of that, if you're on Intel, your TRP is also really high. And so it really, like, BDI is ultimately still faster. But EDI, you know, as far as sort of, well, benching ICs go, like, basically the progression of benching memory was like the first IC that was really competitive, as far as I know at least, was Hynix MFR 4 gigabit. Then that eventually got dethroned by, like, Samsung DDI for a little bit, but DDI sucked. And then EDI came out and it fixed everything wrong with DDI. And EDI was basically the best thing until BDI came along and dethroned that. So anyway, let's throw a quick benchmark at this, because you might be like, so since you have this bizarre memory configuration, the performance must suck, right? There's BDI and EDI combined. How's the performance? Well, it's actually not bad. Come on, give me my latency number. It's not super optimized, because obviously you saw, damn it, that's a terrible result. It should be around 64 nanoseconds, especially considering we're not even running gear down mode, which, yeah, it's fun. Completely asymmetrical memory setup, and yet somehow I managed to run it at 1T command rate without gear down. Okay, so IDA has just decided that it's not going to give me the latency that it's supposed to give me, because this should be actually, wait, I might have tightened out timings to get, loosened out the timings to get the mem test pass. So actually, this might be correct. I can't remember what the last settings were that I dialed in. So okay, so about 65.6 nanoseconds, which really isn't that bad. We're at 3733. You know, if we look at copy. So the funny thing about this memory configuration is I think the memory controller does actually interleave it. So we do get sort of the dual rank performance boost, because there is technically 2 groups of memory chips in there, right? So it's dual rank. But the problem is one of those groups is like half the size of the other group. So we have an 8 gigabyte stick and a 4 gigabyte stick. And the problem with that is in theory, once you go past 16 gigs of memory, there's no more interleaving room. So This is actually kind of well, I think it's slightly overperforming in IDA because we're not using up enough of the memory. Because this really should perform like single. Well, if as it fills up, it should start performing like single rank. So it's kind of the one downside to this is this is not really like a performance boosting thing. This is really a configuration of RAM that you would run because 16 gigs is just not enough, but 32 gigs is too expensive. And for some reason, you still want like, you know, good memory performance, which we are getting, right? Like 55 megabytes per second on a 3700X is solid. The latency, we could probably work that down if I actually put some more effort into the timings. So anyway, if we look at CPU-Z here, which apparently Windows, no, oh damn, okay, that's a thing. Okay, thank you commenters for pointing that out. So if we look at our memory, right, you can see, wait, 16? Oh, that explains so much. But why? I was certain that gear down mode is turned off. Damn it, BIOS. Okay, well, whatever. There's your Godlike. So, okay, it should run 15. The thing is, I was actually almost doing memtest at CL14. So, it could... Well, actually, I don't know if it'll post with gear down mode. Well, we can test that right here, right now. We're just not going to do a full stability test, right? So, anyway. This is kind of awkward to use. Anyway, so there's our memory. Here's our SPD. So the combination, so these are the EDI sticks. These are 4000 CL19, 2525. So that's the thing about EDI. The TRCD and TRP just needs to be ridiculously loose. And then, of course, we have some... Oh, wait, what? Slot 1, slot 2. Oh, okay. Okay, well, the board's just kind of weird. And then here we have some absolutely crazy G-Scale B-die. So this is 4600 CL19 B-die from G-Skill. And it's not like G-Skill sent that to me. That's actually from a fan of the channel. So huge thanks to him for actually trading me that memory kit because, yeah, it's actually my first G-Skill B-die memory kit. It's also my first set of B-die with an A0 PCB because all of my other B-die is actually on the A2 PCB. So that leads to some fun situations. Unfortunately, when I tried testing this memory for 4000 CL12, it really, like, it does 4000 CL12. It just doesn't do really anything above that, so I'm just kind of screwed. Still, like, it hasn't managed to replace my best benching memory. Okay, so CPU-Z is obviously having some issues here because you can clearly see on the camera there's 4 DIMMs fully populated. Where's my last memory stick? Cool, whatever. But, okay, so that's the settings that it's running at, and the CPU is currently in just completely stock boost configuration, so... wait, how do I... Okay, now it's back to 100%. Cool. So, yeah, so 24 gigs of RAM is a thing, and you might be like, so... And what gave me this idea to try 24 gigs of RAM? Well, you see, my daily system used to be on 16 gigs of RAM for a very long time, until... I actually ended up in a situation... Well, I ran out of RAM because I have a bad habit of leaving giant photos in GIMP open in the background. I'm not actually a tab monster. Like, I know a lot of people, they'll have like a million browser tabs. I don't really do that. I basically... Like, I do have an ultra-wide monitor, but basically once the tabs start getting, like, shrunk because... they no longer fit on the top bar of the browser. I tried to get them under control at that point, but with an ultra-wide, I can fit quite a few tabs before that starts happening. So, anyway. Okay, so that's kind of silly. So I thought if you set it 1T here, it would automatically disable gear down mode, since, like, that's what it would imply. It even... Okay, wait. I am going to deal with this. We will not have... Okay, so now I can disable gear down mode, right? If I go back up, can I go to 1T now? Don't you dare overwrite it. Anyway, here are the lovely set... No, it goes back to auto. Okay, you stupid... Wait, that's set to 16? Who set that to... Oh, it must have been because gear down... Damn it. Yeah, because I wanted 15 with gear down mode disable. That's really obnoxious. Okay, let's try reboot and see if that works, because I do wonder about that. And also, those are my lovely timings. And that's the great thing about like EDI is that, as you saw, the TRFC was 320. Whereas a lot of other ICs don't really go that low, especially not at quite this high frequencies. Oh, and it still boots at without gear down mode. Or the motherboard is lying to me. Don't lie to me, board. Okay, so this is great. Cool. So now we're back at 15. So it might actually run 15, 20, 20, and I'm just not sure. And 21 is just easier for stability. And I was running out of patience with getting actually like super high performance settings working. So yeah, I'm pretty happy with this running. Yeah, TRRDs 4.4 because EDI, BDI, you know, great ICs. Love them. TFAW, you know, 16, of course. TCWL. This might actually go lower if I tried, but I haven't tried. So yeah, TCKE of 1. These both might go lower. This is, I think this is a consequence of some timings up top, but that should actually be possible to run lower than it is. That might do 10 or even 9 stable. It's just, yeah, like, so obviously the timings aren't super dialed in, but 24 gigabytes of DDR4 is actually a viable DDR4 configuration for Ryzen 3rd gen. If you're careful with like the ICs that you end up mixing. Anyway, I never did finish my story about why I wanted to stay, like, so I never did finish the story about my daily system. So anyway, so it was on 16 gigs for a while. And obviously I started running out of RAM, and because I just don't close things. I also regularly forget games open in the background, just tab out of them and forget that they're running. So yeah, I'm great like that. So no wonder I run out of memory, right? Anyway, so because of that, I eventually decided, well, actually, the main reason I ended up getting 24 gigs, like, I did actually run 24 gigs for a while. It was a disaster, though, because I did actually do a test if EDI and BDI together would work well with a 3700X, or even maybe a 1700, and I found that you could go to around like 3000 to 3200 megahertz quite easily, even on a daisy chain motherboard. So that was great and all, except my daily system, like, it had god-awful freaking SpecTech DDR4, some kind of 4 gigabit SpecTech IC, which is actually just rebranded Micron. Anyway, that stuff was trash, or is trash. And so, you know, that stuff just doesn't get, like, I never got it above 2666. Now, somebody else who has that RAM at this point has told me that they managed to eke 3100 out of it, but it's just like, they have too much time on their hands, because that just sounds like, honestly, that stuff sucked as far as I'm concerned, and it was not worth the effort. But yeah, also this is at 1.5 volts. The cooling you can see in the image. And I think I wanted to mess around with BCLK overclocking, which is why that voltage is tweaked up. That's not for the memory controller, that's for the CPU core. But yeah, evidently I forgot that I wanted to do that before I started running mem tests. So yeah, this is kind of the thing. Too many things to test and not enough time. But so the thing is just like, yeah, my daily ran 24 gigs for a while at like 2400 megahertz. And eventually my daily ended up on two separate different sets of BDI. So now it runs like 3000, because one of those sets of BDIs is trash. And the other set is actually actually really good. Or it's not the best set I have, but it's a good set of BDI. Unfortunately, it's just the other set is trash. So, you know, if you have one set of good memory and one set of bad memory, and you put them together, you get one big set of bad memory, because the worst steak drags down the rest of them. And that's kind of the same situation we're in here with like the EDI, where it's like, you know, TCL is really actually probably EDI limited. The TRCD, very much a, you know, EDI limit. That's not the BDI doing that. That's again the EDI. Also still the EDI. Also the EDI. EDI again. Really, all of the timings are basically set according to EDI. It's just that EDI gets pretty close to BDI timings in general. So that's why I can get away with this. And yeah, honestly, if it weren't for the fact that these are like nice sticks that I actually like, the thing is like, you know, this is cool on paper where it's like, oh yeah, I could have actually run this and this would be like a relatively high performance configuration of memory for my daily system. The only issue is that my daily system is intentionally built of what I consider spare parts. Therefore, things that suck, in other words, or at least suck as far as I'm concerned. So, yeah. Anyway, this is just a memory configuration that, because it was like at some point actually in my daily, I was like, well, what would actually be the limits of a 24 gig configuration if it wasn't thrown together from like the worst memory you could find in, you know, you could get your hands on? Because that's exactly what I ran in my daily system, was like the worst set of B-die and some trash Spectec ICs. That I still don't know what they actually are. It's like the Typhoon Burner never identified them. So, yeah, that kind of sucked. But, yeah, it's nice, like, you know, I don't know, maybe you'll have a use for something like this where, you know, you want to do 24 gigs. Unfortunately, like, it would be a maybe kind of cool thing if this was actually offered as a like a memory kit like that you could just buy, because, but at the same time it's like, would it actually work out to be cheaper than just buying 32 gigs of B-die, right? Like that's the other issue, is just because at this point B-die is actually cheap. Like the thing is, I came up with this idea when B-die was like $200 for a halfway decent kit, right? And now you can get a great kit for like $100, where it's just like, oh, so yeah, that's kind of the thing. It's just like, this is cool and all, but it's not really that practical anymore because RAM is so much cheaper. On the flip side, you wouldn't actually want to run like 12 gigs of memory, because 12 gigs of memory would basically, like, you couldn't even run dual channel on like, well, so here we have the whole issue of like, at some point this is going to stop doing rank interleaving because the ranks aren't the same size. If you have a 4 gig stick and an 8 gig stick on 2 different memory channels, it's going to stop channel interleaving, which will effectively cut your memory bandwidth in half as soon as you exceed the capacity of the smaller of the 2 sticks. So basically, if you have a 4 gig stick and an 8 gig stick, then by the time you start using more than 8 gigs of RAM, your memory bandwidth for everything above that 8 gigs of RAM is basically cut in half, because you've run out of space for channel interleaving on the smaller of the 2 sticks. This doesn't run into that because each channel does have the same amount of memory. And I guess at this point we could turn off the system and I'll just show you what it physically looks like. So, I mean, you can actually pretty much see it anyway. Like, you can see the total mismatch of the sticks, where, you know, we have this, like, this channel has, so we have this white stick. Come on, I can't get it out. I have this white stick, so that's the E-die. And these are some of the nicest looking sticks that I got my hands on. I have 3 of these. I need a 4th one. They're kind of hard to find, especially since I bought a set, which was relatively cheap at the time. And these are all 4000 CL19. So you could actually get these in lower speed bins, but I very specifically want all 4 of mine to be the 4000 CL19 just because, well, I just want like a matched set in terms of specs. But yeah, so that's the E-die. And then of course on the same channel, we have the B-die stick. So, oh, come out. Damn tall heat spreaders. So yeah, and that's just a Trident Z stick. So, yeah. And that actually runs, like, as you saw, like 3733. It might even do CL15. It could have actually, you know, the thing is, you could actually play around with the memory layout. Also, what I'm kind of like, I didn't experiment with, but when I last tried this with a different set of E-die and B-die, because I didn't yet have the 4600 megahertz G-Skill kit. When I last tried this, I was actually using, so this is an A0 layout PCB, and you can tell it's an A0 because, flip it around. So you can tell this is an A0 because all of the memory chips are relatively evenly spaced, right? And, well, all of my other B-die is A2, which basically has a group of memory chips right here, and then a group of memory chips right on the other side of the stick. If you're wondering why I'm holding the memory so weird, it's because the mic is at the desk and the test bench is behind me. So I'm doing quite the gymnastics to get that shot right there. But yeah, so I'm not sure if that actually causes issues if you like mix the A2 memory with the A0. So that's another concern with this, is just like you could potentially, like, it could very actually, I think I did run into that where it was like if I ran the E die in the furthest memory slots, like basically switching the memory, like if you're running uneven memory configurations like this where it's not all the same memory and not all, and especially if you're not running all the same PCB layouts of the actual memory sticks, then it's like depending which memory stick is in which slot relative to the CPU. So basically, like, what I mean by that is like these two unoccupied slots, that's one memory channel, and these two slots are the other memory channel. So swapping them around inside that given memory channel, you can see drastic differences in terms of overclocking. So it might be like, I only tested this B die, like the B die, E die, B die, E die configuration. But it might be that if I tested E, B, E, B, then it would have actually clocked worse or better. I don't know. I didn't try. I don't think it really would have clocked any better because obviously I was only going for like 3800 or 3733. I settled for 3733 because I can't actually get FCLK 1900 to be stable. So I don't like fighting the system for that. But yeah, it's just kind of like that's another consideration there. And then also if I had A2 layout PCB, like A2 layout memory sticks, that would also affect which order I'd have to run the sticks in. But yeah, it was it's a pretty neat little sort of like, you know, this works if anybody cares. Because there's really, at this point, there really is no reason to run this, right? It's just like, because yeah, you can get 32 gigs of B-die for $200, and if you don't want B-die, you can get 32 gigs of Micron Rev E for $150, which, you know, I don't even know if you can still buy E-die. Like that's the other thing, is like I'm not sure Samsung still makes E-die. So you might find that this is no longer something that's possible to build because you can't even buy the damn chip. Like you can't even reliably get the memory sticks with the ICs for this. But yeah, it's just like I like testing strange stuff, like say weird memory configurations like this. So, you know, I figured I just, you know, do this. And also it's just fun to get, like, you know, like with memory overclocking, there's no, like, more memory overclocking practice, right? Like you just get to learn, like, hey, this very strange setup did this. And, you know, I don't think I'll ever actually be able to apply anything that I learned. Well, I don't know. I think it all carries over in memory overclocking, where it's just like, because yeah, but whatever. It's just like, so basically it's like memory OC practice, and then it's also just like, I just like testing silly setups like this, because especially like, you know, I know, you know, you see people test silly setups, but I like testing silly setups that actually work, where I would consider this a success. Like, yes, we're bottlenecking the B-die by, I don't know, 10, oh wait, no. Was it 21? So like 6 ticks. Yeah, we're bottlenecking the B-die by like 6 ticks, 5 ticks of TRCD, and similar number of ticks for the TRP, as well as the TRAS and the TRC, which actually the TRC is probably off like by 10 ticks or something like that. That's actually probably the biggest difference, is like that TRC hit. But yeah, like, you know, you're still faster than you know, 4 sticks of Micron Rev E, because Micron Rev E does, like, at least my Micron Rev E needs like twice as much TRFC. I think I'm not sure that I couldn't get the TRRDs as low as on this, but that really, like, you don't offset basically a doubling of TRFC with TRRD. It's just not, especially because this runs it as low as it goes. Like literally you couldn't push the TRRD even any lower if you tried, because the memory controller doesn't support that. So yeah, like, so that's kind of that. It's just like, this is a really silly memory setup that was just like, yeah, I think this could be neat. So hopefully this was somewhat interesting, or not, you know, like I don't care that much. But yeah, so that's that. Thanks for watching. Like, share, subscribe, leave any comments, questions, suggestions down in the comment section below. And if you'd like to support what I do here with actually hardcore overclocking, I do have a Patreon where you can support me directly. There's a link to that down in the description below. And if you'd like us to pick up some AHOC merch, so like stickers, posters, shirts, that kind of thing, you can find a link to that down in the description below as well. Also, you know, if you want to see more strange memory configuration, I think I might do a 96 gig on dual channel memory configuration next, but I'm not sure. Well, the issue with that is like it takes so long for memtest, because like I did do a 48 gig configuration. Yeah, that took a while. This is 24 gigs, so this isn't that bad, but the 48 gig takes twice as long as this does to reach the same percentage, and the 96 gigs is like twice as long as 48 gigs, so it's just like, takes for freaking ever. But at the same time, I do actually wonder, like, hey, how viable is 96 gigs? Because, you know, like, there, I'd actually argue there's a good reason, because, like, going from 64 gigs to 128 is actually insane. Like, that's a big price hike, right? That's not the same as here, where it's like the difference between 16 gigs and 32 gigs these days is really not that big as it used to be. So yeah, anyway, I'm really extending the length of this video at this point for no reason, aren't I? So yeah, if you'd like to, you know, if you think 96 gigs would be something cool to test, which actually I'll probably test it anyway, but you know, I might not post a video if nobody's interested. Yeah, you can leave a comment about that down in the description below. And yeah, so that's it for the video. Thanks for watching, and goodbye.